And come through that too. So it's you know, on that. It's a painting day on, so I think I might have a rest from it.
Sorry?
It's all right.
Tsultrim? Yeah, about 9:30 Saturday. Or 7 o'clock on Sunday. 9:30? 9:30? Okay, good.
I listened to Monday's Tute, and I think then after that I went and listened to the YouTube Creep.
Oh, yeah.
YouTube Creep?
A grungy ballad.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do Sunday morning.
So it's like Saturday night.
Oh, you've got the handout that as well.
Yeah. It's not a new edition, it's a past edition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got the self-initiation one. That's what we
Is that our 4th week of this module?
It's week 16.
Do we have a break next week or do we? All right. Sorry? Well, no, I don't keep track. I think it actually, no, I think the 10th.
This is week 4. So another 2 weeks, then a break.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Not that we're counting.
Obeisance to my Lord and Protector, and Geshe holds in his mouth with him to taste the knowledge of his seeing all things as they are, his understanding shines forth, unclouded by defilements or traces of ignorance, who teaches in 60 ways with patient love of heart, with his only Son, all creatures caught in prison and samsara, confused in the darkness of their ignorance, overwhelmed by their suffering. You, his dragon thunder proclamation of the Dhamma, arouses us from the stupor of our delusions, frees us from our insurance of our karma, whose powerful sword of wisdom shews down suffering wherever it sprouts, clearing away the darkness of all ignorance. I entreat you, O man Geshe, whose priestly body is adorned with 104 hearts of Buddha, who has completed the 10th stages achieving the highest perfection of the Bodhisattva, who has been pure from beginning, O man Geshe, O loving one, with the brilliance of your wisdom, the illuminate the darkness enclosing my mind, enlighten my intelligence and wisdom, and gain insight into the Buddha's words and explain them. Saji, Gokichu, Generation,
강 두진이 동에 따와 동제 동비처럼 동제 준준도 고등 제라 청세로 Good morning. Something symbol really nimble never somebody said something say Lula chat the church in the town, even from nimble Jose never done. Nimble never la chapel goes. Bamboo Lula chat the church in the town, nimble Jose never made. Tomer Pablo Monday, Rank Loy Tadici, Shire Review Tower, sharing to the cold cheese.
We've started to look at the way to train in the ethics of gathering virtuous dhammas, covering the first point, which is abandoning attachment to the body, the cause for not training in ethics. Let's pick up from point C, which is reflecting on how the body is without essence, which consists of a couple of points. If one were to divide the body into parts, and examine them, one would find nothing that is in the slightest a reliable essence, a couple of verses, and it is unreasonable to be attached to something that has no essence. Let's begin with verse 62. So, it says, first, peel off this sheath of skin with your awareness. Then also separate the flesh from the grind of bones, from the grind of bones, and place it apart with your wisdom sword.
And then nimble languores chixungoras. Nimble languores on it, the nimble never chavo mirigua on it. It is chick, call machana gando soraji, yom misigo maravas.
This and the following verses come under the heading of the body has no essence, and therefore it is unreasonable to become attached to it. So often in relation to other verses, to other topic, we say that we need to extract the essence of this body, right? So when we speak of the topic of the precious human rebirth, the actual wording in Tibetan is a precious human body. And the instruction or the exhortation that is given is to take the essence of this human body. But here it says that since the body has no essence, it is unreasonable to get attached to it. So, although Geshe Reichenstadt, we're not that confused about it, still there is a danger of confusing those two seemingly conflicting statements. So, let's try to make them clear.
Golden Julia and Kaswatati Lakchata Masuna and Kelgore said, Ingolangore said, Teredas, when you Lutin D. Turkey and Lutin didn't give it Tony, when you Sheriff Pejuchia and Russian the mixage yoga, mix a kind of a deep and Ludin Vitale, language of a deep and language is an imbu language, said deep, so there is draw.
To extract the essence of the human body that we have means to hold on to something in a hand, like a weapon or a tool of use. That would be to extract the essence of this human body, which supports an intelligent consciousness, wisdom, which is, you can say, quite particular or special in comparison with other living beings. So to extract the essence of this human body that we have now would mean to make use of the particular type of wisdom that we have.
Oh, there is the Yashijatamba, the Yashijatamba, Yoros, Nozaya, Rock, then I'm going to tend you serious in Marina, and she Sunjay Shing Levata, and she let's all sober. Tomo Magic Miller Yoga D, Mosum the Tongoras, things are not D Tony, Cartoon to Islam, Mandu Lengi number GB, Namjudi, Jun to Yoga. And it's Tamjale, Chori maybe, the Joju Kumoto, and it's Chamzing somebody, T Tom, Jun to Yoga, and Yachajaza, and D, and the social year never did where the Kichimushu Chaza, Lindele Nimbolengo, do say, or this.
This is something that is certainly visible in the sense that when you look at, for example, our capacities as human beings from a scientific perspective in comparison with other living beings, we can say that our particular physical makeup, the structure of our brain, the nervous system, or what have you, makes it possible for us to develop a particular type of wisdom or intelligence that can make fine distinctions with respect to the right and the wrong, the positive, the negative, and so forth. So then to extract the essence of this body, to extract the essence of life in general, would mean to make use of this wisdom, this intelligence, to make it be able to make finer and finer distinctions.
And Lud Peshutan was like Matamachi, Mogosa Jita, Ludele, Chete Shuji, Lule Chachin, Rakanji, and in Nilu Slam, Sachim Shu Zinchin, Hikran Pilia, and Sonju Chimat Savachin, Hawaina, and Anzumusidi, could to you to Zijinaway, Zorganza, and the deep Cumures. In the Dinji Chidichi Reagi, Ludele Shuji Piggy. Noble Nanjing, Sanji Uko Nanjing Gipe, and it cheated you, so in your maris, Ningo didn't your maris, think charging maris. Chow will say you quarantine your maris.
And then at the same time, if we use this body in situations where actually we shouldn't be using it in that way, and we do not make use of the body in extracting the essence in developing wisdom, as we said, then, and also we have a certain attitude with respect to our body. We hold it dear with a strong sense of I, and thinking that this is my body. Then this is making use of this body in a way that is not right. And particularly when we consider that our life is coming to an end, or will come to an end at some point, if thinking of the attitude that we have with respect to the body, if we hold it to be so precious, like a precious jewel, or like a Buddha image, a Buddha statue, and so forth, then our life would be wasted in taking care of something that is so precious. That would be a waste. So this is something that is unnecessary. This is something that is not needed. So we want to extract the essence of this body, and yet also come to see that as our life is coming to an end, it is without essence.
In the Chakbig Lodi, the changing from Mazulia, Chabaki, Chakbig Lodi, and then Lord Tundunjita, Kugi, Zimba Nanshingi, Yuldi, Tana never chick, Yorivas, Sawin Yomaris, Chakbig Koran, and Sawadi, and it Sushi Mahimbi, Yijising, Indijiki, Kanji, and Sumi Yiji, Namdoji, Kunalanchini, 아니 유디 니출레 하버 돈도딩이 아니 삼로직 차거레스 그래서 유디 우유 니출레 땅이 로직 자원이 말레스 그래서 딘디기 우유 니출레 동이 따딩이 로디기 샤원도 교진 가서 뒤질에 유바이나 아니 가서 아니 된단 만지고야지 마도 된단 주야지 자원이 이거 말레스 그래서 차리고 말레스로 메리 제 차리고 말레스.
So then with this mind of attachment, when we examine how the mind of attachment operates, we look at whether it is in line with reality. Is it factually concordant? Does it apprehend its object in a way that is in line with the way that the object exists? Does it accord with reality? When we look closely at attachment, we can come to see that it is not in line with reality. It is involved with incorrect mental operation, incorrect mental attention. It superimposes, it exaggerates the object. And therefore, it is certainly not in line with reality. And we come under the sway of such a state of mind that is not in line with reality. And when a mind is not in accord with reality, and we operate on that basis, a good outcome will not come. So for the visitors that have just come in, we're looking at the text that is called Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life, and we're covering one section of the text. So now it might seem to be a bit awkward, or the topic that we're covering at the moment, which explains how the body is without essence, might seem to be out of place, but it's part of a big text.
Rembu Jedan and Sambu Chigitola, some down to Vaina, and Chi Chagin Kanas Manzamba in the mid the original need to a chick, and Yasajaka Yoris, but so this song to Rananjanola.
So then when we study a text like that, and if we're able to study it from the beginning to end, what we're studying is a way of using a mind to develop a certain way of thinking. We recognize that our happiness and well-being arise from the mind. And when we think of the mental happiness and well-being that we seek, we come to see that it's not that our happiness and well-being depend only on external conditions and external circumstances. If we develop a certain way of thinking, a certain mental attitude, which is balanced, which is with a sense of evenness with respect to the inside and the outside, we can develop a greater sense of happiness and well-being. And this is the main focus in our study, developing those new ways of thinking. Now, one thing that we also need to distinguish, and it is likely that some of you are already aware of this point, one thing that we do need to distinguish is between liking something and being attached to it. Sometimes they might seem to be the same thing, but there is a difference between liking something and being attached to it.
연den이 차지 토니 망자 가와디 디리친 기고도스 펜도지 차 다 차페로디 로다지 토 로 아니 간지 유 내수는 되게 도타지기 왕기 아니 차바디 기위원자 아니 지딜로 양타바 임바다 지딜로 로바 임바지 딘디지 우리 내수 딘디지 차고레스.
So how do we distinguish between liking something and being attached to it? Well, you can say that liking something is recognizing its positive qualities, certain quality, finding that quality being enchanting. Whereas to be attached to it would mean that you superimpose or you exaggerate whatever you observe. And that exaggeration means that you have a mind that is not in line with reality.
네, 나 차가 슈체 온디게 and chorongi somebody kigres chori somebody 야지야다나 차가 가주 슈치가 디츠 choron the chori somebody 슈체 도그레스 우유 네츠 가와 디게 피게 디게 아니 차당 chori디 당원신 기가 말했어 라 그래서 딘디기 개발지는 것도
And when your mind exaggerates the qualities of a certain object with a sense of attachment, it means that you're becoming partial with respect to it. And the greater the exaggeration is, the greater your partiality becomes. That's what happens with states like anger, attachment, and so forth. This sense of exaggeration brings about partiality being biased. Whereas if you're able to avoid that mental distortion, if your mind is in line with reality, your mind does not become biased.
다들 당은 가법드니 식제디기 견다디 세우쇼지레 만든 류라야 차 머리기 견세 계란 류라 파지 아니 슈드르체다 제바체다 아니 하고 그랬어.
So here we're looking at Shantidev's presentation, which makes the point that it is not reasonable to be attached to the body. And Shantideva says, look at the body, analyze it, investigate it, and you can come to see that it is unreasonable to be attached to it. So we read through verse 62. Let's look at a commentary to that. So when it says, first peel off this sheath of skin with your awareness, then also separate the flesh from the grid of bones and place it apart with your wisdom sword. It says, first of all, if you mentally peel off this sheath of skin from the rest of the body, then it does not have any essence. Then remove the flesh from the grid of the bones with a weapon of wisdom and analyze whether there is any essence.
Terda riban nomja yechini kamgi partu tachashi dela nimbu chiyeche dani kini tabar kis.
The following verse reads, then divide the bones as well and scan all the way down to your feet. Analyze and ask yourself, where is the essence in this?
Terdan jawalo sayinda riban nomja chadan char yewa chini kamgi partu tabar chashi lundala chezun himbu chiyechina dani kini shirabji tabar kita yigden rungi himbu chongse kyang pigila chawaya yidon wayagi cha chongse chikyang ani luyu sha yu wakwa ani ta kang soba kangi tang kyang ani chik yidon wanji nyeyo mares.
The commentary to this section says, then divide up the bones as well. Scan all the parts down to your feet and ask yourself, where is there any essence that could bear analysis? Analyze like this with your wisdom. Geshe says, analyze your skin, your tissues, your muscles, your bones, and so forth. Then come to see that there is no essence. There is not the slightest essence that can be relied upon.
대단 베드 세견테 표진 힘부 많고나스 다동 지시 차수지 표현을 송을 케스 다 루직 만디니 미지칸자 게데디 농주에 바디 디톤 따지지라 하고 그랬어.
analyzing the body in this way, you draw a conclusion that therefore it is unreasonable to become attached to something that lacks essence. And this is where verse 64 says, if even when looking with effort, you cannot find any essence in this, then why do you persist in guarding this body with attachment? So we think of how we have been treating the body with a sense of attachment throughout our life. And it is unreasonable to do that since it lacks any essence.
대대로 배우된 힘보 셀견 루티기 최기 힘보 많구나. 다동 유지식 차시 현비 수기 이견 륜도 송을 차대 다버시면 미리구소스.
The commentary says, if even when looking for any essence with effort, your mind does not see any essence, then for what reason do you continue to guard this body due to being attached to it and grasping at it? This excessive grasping is unsuitable.
그래서 도스테 온디기 가서 게문하는 소리 때문에 류당 이니래야 tuk신게 소리를 들었어라.
Lutan?
이
Well, when you look at what Shantideva says here, kind of you step back from it and you look at that discussion, it seems that body and mind are quarreling.
이제 류당 이니 많잖아. 아니 요다 차그라. 지단 요다 차그라. 다르와.
So when the body and mind put up a fight, it gives us problems, right?
그래서 이내야 그 청부 지내야 그 청부 제당지 토니라 마도 청부 제 마시바이나 아니 농주 좋았어 농주 차원서 아니 류기 가서 이기 아니 류려야 제대 제당디 착비 왕기 제대 제당디 자원이 노르도 이 계란기 류려야 따수 뒤통에 때바이나 노르도 딜라고라다.
So if the body and mind get along well in harmony, and the way of maintaining that harmony is balanced is done in a good way, there would be no problems. There would be no difficulties that will arise for us. But the problem is that we have been caring for the body with an excessive type of attachment. And because of that excessive type of attachment, we end up experiencing problems and suffering.
이들이 지난이 간다 가이네야 나도 미 나노 판주이네리 가리이네야 다 베나 착비 따수 티톤에 들어와이나 아니 요즘 연구여버디 안 세우 쇼지로스 로 리츠 많이 봐 지난이 베시우로스.
It is quite clear that if we go on, if we continue with that sense of attachment, not only with respect to the body, but also with respect to other areas in our life, problems and difficulties will still continue to occur.
그래서 시발률의 차범 미리 균전이 왜 그냥 륜들의 중세 시험을 리수시나 기와르셔.
So it seems that some people at home say that we have internet problem. Do you think that it would help if I restart the router, or it's better not to do it during the session? It will not take a long time. All right.
Also, make sure that anyone who is using the internet switches off in case.
All right. So if there's anyone here using the internet, then don't. Let's try to restart the modem and see if it helps. Let's look at the next section in the text. Before we do that, let's just look at the outline. So we've covered point C under the section of abandoning attachment to the body, the cause for not training in ethics. Now point D, which covers 6 lines, is under the point of the reasons it is unreasonable to be attached to the body. Now this 1/2 verses reads, you're unable to eat filth as well as unable to drink blood and unable to suck the innards. What is the body doing for you? These are second best. It is suitable to be guided. Sorry. It is suitable to be guarded as food for foxes and vultures. So Geshe said that his internet device is not working well today. I would like to reassure us that it's not COVID-19. So someone might come back with an argument saying that, yeah, I understand that there is no essence to the body and therefore it is not suitable to be attached to it. But still, you can still leave some portion of attachment. It's all right to be slightly attached to it because it is useful. It is useful for me and therefore you can still be attached to it to a certain degree.
And pechu yobagi gunzengi and chari with gunzen la zawni in dromares the dion single does.
So here what we need to understand is that using the reasons of because I need it or because it is useful for me does not justify a sense of attachment. Right? So because I need it, because it is of use to me, is an incorrect reason for becoming attached to it. Well, if you say that it is reasonable to become attached to something that is of use to you, that you need, just as well you can say that there are parts within your body that you need and therefore it is reasonable to be attached to it. Like for example, your blood and guts and so forth, we need them. If we use the same logic that if you need something, it is reasonable to be attached to it, then what about being attached to your blood? We don't really get attached to our blood, do we? So again, this section says, you're unable to eat filth as well as unable to drink blood and unable to suck the innards. What is the body doing for you? It is a second best. It is suitable to be guarded as food for foxes and vultures.
윤선 찌도나 와다 차고 소리 세기 된다. 윤도 송아렉소스.
The commentary explains this section in the following way. First of all, the argument says, even though it is suitable to be attached to this body a little, in answering that in light of this verse, it says it is unsuitable to be attached to the body because the body is an impure aggregate. You cannot eat the impure substances of the body, and you can also not drink the blood. Likewise, you cannot suck the innards. So what action is the body doing for you that is of use? These are only second best. Hence, the body is only suitable to be gathered as food for foxes and vultures. Looking at the next section in the text, as it quickly perishes, it is reasonable to utilize it for virtue. So looking at this body, it disintegrates from moment to moment, and there will quickly come a time in which it will completely perish. And therefore, it does make sense, so long as you're alive, to apply your mind to the cultivation of virtue. As it quickly perishes, it is reasonable to utilize it for virtue is divided into 4 points. It is reasonable to utilize the perishable body for virtue as death will soon be upon us. That's the first point, covering 6 lines. Then as an example of how it is unreasonable to carry on with craving while not doing a single thing, and causing one to accomplish one's aims and desire by proving it one with incentives. And it is reasonable to accomplish the welfare of all sentient beings by considering the body as a boat. Let's begin with the last 2 lines in verse 66 and moving on to verse 67. It says, this human body is only to be used. Even if you protect it, the Lord of death without any mercy will take it away and give it to the birds and dogs. At that time, what can you do? There's nothing one needs from the body from the point of view of its nature. This human body that has attained the complete freedoms and endowments is only suitable to be put to work to accumulate virtuous karma. Although you protect it without achieving this purpose, the merciless Lord of death will take it from you, and having separated from it from life, it will offer it to the birds and dogs. Mind, at such a time, what will you do? As you do not have the slightest power to prevent that separation. I can also actually Bluetooth my phone. So, all right. Sorry? I don't see it on my Available networks. Are you with Telstra or Optus?
It's the Optus network.
Optus network.
Are you in Telstra?
Oh no, I'm also on. No, but I can use yours because then otherwise I have to. All right. One?
Password one. Password one. Very strong.
Yeah, that's one of those ones that's in line.
All right. Let's see if it's better. Can't you go No, it's okay. Did Geshe, am I supposed to be presenting something? All right. Not sure what I'm supposed to do now, so totally lost the plot.
You read up to the commentary.
Okay, so we read through the commentary. Your internet connection is unstable. I think that it's kind of, this modem is also Optus. I think that it's just kind of a general ghost in the machine.
어딜 다 간지 이 난주의 가족의 손질 제가 있느냐 아니 치달레비체 라몬사니 메바 아니 리숨 카테 드고요다 당한도 뉴 주고라서 이 상 마당디 직 아니 직 시고야기 상 많고 깔이야 아니 내가 가리는 제거되느냐 오늘이 신인 주고에 하고 있나 아니 직 내가 도자 지어야 잼순 치토야지 야치자탐바 아니 처음에다 상무톤이 용구요레스.
The section that we read through is quite clear. The mind becomes attached to the body. And we know that at some point death will be upon us. And yet with that excessive attachment that we have to the body, when we do not think of our upcoming death, it is likely that we get involved in all sorts of unwanted actions. So if we think of death and impermanence, if we think of that death will be upon us at some point, that we will be separated from this body at some point, it will be helpful in terms of avoiding negative actions.
Pendachi Shanna never done the other, Maron Chedia, Matan Chedia, Lo, and D. Jebulaya, and Sozolaya, one Dunha Yungu Yabadi, Mashi Master Wangi, any one to child Chigi or Mount D in Jebel Chanzan D. Tamandi with Jebel Chanzan D. Rangi Yongo a chick, so shoot up Yungi Jimbana, and Migiwalaya, Zem Goris Malaba. So Rangiton Zem Pigachi, Yunguyores.
So we don't see that point. We don't see the impermanence of the body. And because of that, we act in a way that is non-virtuous. And the result of our behavior, which is harmful to others, which is dishonest, which is not suitable, the result of such behavior is suffering that we experience in the future. So because we don't see that, because we don't understand that, we still give way to such way of acting. But if you see that this type of behavior that is harmful to others, dishonest and so forth, ends up in suffering, you won't have to be encouraged by others to abstain from such behavior. On your own accord, you'll be avoiding negative actions.
Chao Chong Niba Chao Chong Se Jam Micheba, Shembi Jamba, Miri Penis, Chayon Old Multon Lang, Koala Soba Michino, Lil Yokan, Jandona, Kyoko Chede, Shatan Sus.
In that vein, the second part in this section gives us an example of how it is unreasonable to carry on with craving while not doing a single thing. In verse 68, it says, "You would not give cloth and so forth to servants that cannot be ordered around. Hence, if this body leaves you despite your care, why do you build up your flesh to make it firm? It's a good question. Is a bodybuilder? It's a good question.
Sumbalanga Jin, the Dun Shubanis, the Lulaya, Lasha the Masuna, Techini, and Susu the Jugugres, Penatachi, Lulaya Koyori, and Sesayala Sobadi, and Lachi Seto Chichi, Diku Tudolaya, in this Techini, and Susu the Jutubaina, and that's Yokosambu Chinyata, Chibato Chagores rock.
So they do a lower bit.
Joe Lossane.
Not so much.
And the Nilo say. Ben Lois Mare.
Lois Mare, in Alona.
Ben and Jigden, Tayon Koji Chavachi Muteva, Jiu Segula Sober Majemba. Chever Chova Chenas, Lund in bed to Sushi, Nyoke, Kyomo, Shandugana, Kyokoti, Kyonichedi, Shatana, the Sova Chedi, Mirisos.
The commentary says in the world, for example, servants and entourage are not able to do the work, or if they do not serve food, clothing, and so forth to the masters, then they are punished. As this body will leave you without your control, despite having nourished and cared for it with effort, then why do you build up its flesh to make it firm? It is unsuitable. Then the next point comes out of the heading of causing one to accomplish one's aim and desires by proving it, by providing it one with incentives. Probably should be providing it with incentives. Anyway, Geshe says that here, it is just like asking someone to do a certain job for you, and you provide them with a reward, remuneration, salary, and so forth. So similarly, you can provide a body with what it needs if it does what you ask it to do, what it needs to be doing.
Somebody Langanchin said, Chiglaime. Dilla Langancinanis, Tana Rangi Tenchichu, Pemba Mevan Dillani, Tamji Jimba Mejawas.
Then this first reads, after giving the body its wage, put it to work for your purpose. Without any return, do not offer everything to it.
Pena Tutog Kala Sayala Sobadi, Nega Lude Chedus, Gongi Jigres, T. Seche, and a ranking one egg, Deda Chimatamjig in the Jugures. That Pendo Major Pena Tachi, and Chanrala Sobo, Tonde down. And Tanala Soba, that is a Conching Jenny, Lula Giandi, Pendo Jimmy Legari, in the Chuchi Yomaris.
We provide the body with nourishment, with food and so forth, with the expectation that it will engage in all activities that will ensure our happiness and benefit here and hereafter. If you provide the body with other things, with expensive alcohol, with other things that will not help you to accomplish any purpose in this life as well as future lifetimes, it would be a waste. So do not provide the body with things that will not help you to accomplish your purpose. We do need to nourish it, we do need to care for it, but so long as we accomplish a happiness and well-being here and hereafter.
Kala Satani Chenita took Dingaya and it loves a jail, so this was a Yungu was raw.
Here in this section, Tadeva gives us all sorts of advice, a big range of advice, even insofar as how to eat the food, how to dress up, and so forth.
Lun de la Tsultrim Seguso Langajanani, Tana Rangi Givili Cheduchu, Pemba Jonse Jameva Lun de la Seguso Tamji Jimba Micha was.
The commentary to verse 69 says, having given the body its wage of food, clothing, and so forth, one should put it to work now for one's purpose of creating virtuous karma. Without the slightest benefit, one should not offer the body all this food, clothing, and so forth without getting any benefit in return.
Shiva true lu shade, simjen tamjilla, turn to ribanis, wrote on only 10 some lula tree lo shade, simjen number division, easing in loose yours.
And the final point in this section, the section on as it quickly perishes, it is reasonable to utilize it for virtue. It is reasonable to accomplish the welfare of all sentient beings by considering the body as a boat. In verse 70, it reads, regard the body as a boat, merely for coming and going. Transform it into a wish-fulfilling body to accomplish the welfare of sentient beings.
And Jansu Paru to Drovaya, Trulatin and Droguanza, or Dinan Shingi, that Paru letter with Jelaya, True Tara Shan and Royal Modo, Sagan, Trukin Drona, and Kalakaros Modo, Yomaras, Dinan Shingi, Luti, Simjan Tamjingi, Dodo Druyagi, that Trutawigi, Lo Shatubaina, and Nyamta Ombon Kandachi Chedu, and Suzuki, Samlaya, Ninji Yobana Shingi. And Lug Tony, Kalijar to a chick, Yungu Saris, Nansu, Timbeva Inza, and Susu Lulayate, chick, Madeva Leon, Lamsan, and Yi Shimchini, and Shanayata, chick, Contra da Mambo Chiela Soba, and Magawa Yun de Adi, and Lud Chitti Chichi Wang, Ni Luri Sagi, and Shu Chit Travangi, and Nyota the Yungu Saris.
This analogy that Shantideva employs here is quite easy to understand. Just like using a boat to ferry us across the ocean, and once you reach the safe shore, you don't need to still be carrying the boat around when you're on dry land. Similarly, when we look at the attitude that we have towards the body, we want to use the body in order to make it become serviceable for the welfare of other living beings. So we develop compassion to other sentient beings. We consider how sentient beings are beset by suffering, problems, and so forth. And we use that in order to accomplish their benefit. Rather than doing that, if we perceive a body with an excessive attachment, we think of the body, this is my body. And at times when we feel unwell, we become distressed, we become depressed, or we get annoyed, we get angry, we lash at others and so forth. This attitude compound the problems and suffering. They bring more problems and suffering.
The Lud Gaval and baby cheddar, draw down with 10 some Lulan Kovi Jams of powder to Drew Loshades. Simjen Nam turned to be cheddar. Jebel Zobe Sanji Cook, Yishin Nobu Rumbushitavi, and lose your chaos.
The commentary says this body is here in this life, merely as the basis for striving in virtue, as it is the basis for coming and going. In such a way, view it with the recognition of it being a boat for crossing the ocean of cyclic existence, and transform it into the precious wish-fulfilling jewel of a Buddha's body, as to achieve the welfare of all sentient beings.
Yang Yishin Luse, Yiki Ranshin Lus Gursage, Bena Doi Namolayan, Dolu Shiandi, and Inganzu Tamavigi, and Dunghaki Pumbuti, and Ten Loche, and Yiki Ranshin Lulenchi, and Teni Yang Omozo Sanji Langi Motosuchi, 도코란 로여자 아니 델성다나 안 초에 차고레스로
The last two lines in this verse say, transform it into a wish-fulfilling body to accomplish the welfare of sentient beings. And Geshe in his commentary says, and transform it into the precious wish-fulfilling jewel of a Buddha's body. So, or a Buddha Kaya. This is one permissible interpretation of this verse, but there's also another way that you can read it in Tibetan. You can also read it in Tibetan as transforming the body to be a mental body. So currently, as being ordinary or common beings, we have this coarse body of flesh and blood. In our stages of spiritual development, when we attain high level of realization, high grounds, the body becomes a body in the nature of mind. Or on the basis of a coarse body, we can develop a body in the nature of mind and use it then to accomplish the state of Buddha. So you can read these two lines also as giving us the instructions to use this body as a support for developing a mental body, a body in the nature of mind that will be used then in order to become Buddha. So in the sutra system, there is a description of making use of this body in a particular way. So mentally, we develop compassion, we develop bodhicitta. We then combine it with wisdom that realizes emptiness, and we take it to the point in which we develop wisdom that perceptually realizes emptiness. When we develop wisdom that perceptually realizes emptiness, at that point, the abode of the body transforms, or you can also say the state of the body transforms and becomes a mental body.
Taditeri ta kanji didungu su kanji chagi yana mena kanji ani dosja lamla ya tigbige rumba subshuchik ro chagi oresti.
Now, when you get to this point of development, you have gotten to the point in which your ability to progress becomes very subtle. You reach a high level of realization and your mind has become subtle.
Niba gewa dribala kebar chavala sum tamabi kunju zebar chavatan jenda trobi kunju kana manto mebala kebar chavatan gosum gi lechibi chavala kebar chavos bambu tamabi kunju zebar chavala sum jenda trebi tsi chedar chavatan yoshela donne chava soji tsi chedar chava Chogon Zambi, Fondu Chawadrubo. Ambo Shendan Tribute Chidal Chavani, Kedar Rama Yogiti, Taudun Zun, Shenduki, Tony Muso Yontonde, Druvisher dans Sombre Kiss.
Having looked at the section that explains abandoning the attachment to the body because of not training in ethics, let's look at the second point in the way to train in ethics of guarding virtues Dhamma. And the second point is one should be knowledgeable about accomplishing virtue. There are 3 points to this section. Performing ordinary activities beautifully, being knowledgeable in the way of befriending others without incurring misdeeds, and being knowledgeable about performing actions of the 3 doors. Let's begin with performing ordinary activities beautifully. Again, there are 3 points to this section: how to act when encountering others, how to act with regards to discarding and adopting basic necessities, and acting at all times with noble demeanor. Beginning with verse 71, it says, "Thus, those possessing independence should always wear a smile, clear away angry wrinkles and frowns, be my greatest friends and be honest."
Teta Taudu Raun the Dembitoni, and it Sundajila Tunaya, 아니 좀씩 비토니 용 투야 제발라 냐야다 냠니 고도스 라 페나 슈넘기 네루 비게 나온다 마트바 톰바니기 테 아니 수진도 삼투고다 이마치 디톨라야 아니 랑 야버토 랑 제반진 신 야버토 로티 코도체 아니 랑 야버토 신 제반진 비기 아니 진진 로라야 곰디 야고 지여바이나 아니 수레직토 바이나야 아니 좀시시 토니 랑 토니 로투에지 디니 용구요레스
So this verse says, those possessing independence should always wear a smile, clear away angry wrinkles and frowns. So it teaches us the way that we should conduct ourselves, the way that we should wear our demeanor in our interactions with others, to be welcoming or wearing a smile on our face when we interact with others. Not only when we develop an insight into reality, realizing that things do not exist in the way that they appear, that there is a discrepancy between the way that phenomena appear to us and the way that they exist in reality. So we develop the wisdom of emptiness, and on top of that, we discard our own attitude of cherishing ourselves and develop an attitude of cherishing others. Normally, we would cherish ourselves and disregard others, but we exchange that with cherishing others more than we cherish ourselves. So with adopting these mental attitudes, the way that we interact with others is with a pleasant demeanor, with a smile on our face.
남주다 아니 전주의 만당와 마도베기 아니 유유무유네스디 아니 남수의 통투거레스 산지 찬송기 세번한신기 남준 배주지나 통투야지 공무유네스인자 덴바인자 아니 수때나야 수 배주지나야 통투야지 차거라스라.
It might seem to us currently to be out of our reach, that we're incapable of doing that. But currently it seems that it is impossible to do it due to a lack in effort or not having enough trust that this is possible. But we can still do that. We can still do that just like Buddhas and Bodhisattvas have done it. We have the ability to do it just like they've done it if we put in enough effort into that, if we have trust in that process. The commentary to verse 71 says, thus one should take control of one's body and mind and always smile at others, clear away angry wrinkles and frowns, and be a good friend to my greatest. When talking, be honest and truthful. The second point amongst these 3 points is how to act with regards to discarding and adopting basic necessities. We have 2 lines that cover this section. Do not throw beds and so forth. Do not throw beds and so forth around noisily without consideration. If you've been doing it so far, then don't.
She said that Retila Sobata be Sobatamaris, Mission, and some Tanchi, Kalich and Robert Sungudas, 트베소 요새 맞다 봐. 저도 다친 것도 찌든 그때 얘는 위치로스.
Yes, you've been moving around. Well, people say that kind of the internet today is pretty horrible. Can't hear what we're saying, so apologize for that. There's nothing we can do about it. I think that. Well, I think that we can connect to that, but I guess that we'll finish soon, and those recordings will go on YouTube on our Dropbox. So what can you do? Anyway, Geshe says with respect to these two lines that if we've been inconsiderate in the way that we're moving things around like sofas, beds, and so forth, then this verse is saying, do not throw possessions like beds and so forth noisily around because this harms others. So do you reckon I should give it a try? Well, I guess that's we can just leave it here for today and hope for a better infinite connection in next life.
Next life.
No, probably tomorrow.
Next life.
Tonight.
Tonight, yeah. Tonight is the night. All right. May I quickly become Guru Lord Buddha and what's it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, anyway.
Thank you. Thank you for trying.
Obviously, we didn't try too hard.
Sorry, the internet is not willing.
Thank you.
You don't forget we have a break on the teaching. I think it's a 2-week break.
Yeah.
Is it? I think other times Geshe hasn't talked Friday, Thursday, and Friday. Will it be the same here, or are they not too sure?
I'm not sure what to do. So, because before he said